Now I'm going to help you get this one started. So the boys' mean absolute deviation is a little bit harder to do than the girls because you have a decimal. So check that you have the correct mean. When I added up all the numbers for the boys, I got 635. And then there were 10 boys' numbers, so I divided it by 10 to get 63.5. So the boys' mean is right here at 63.5. And now we have to figure out, if mean is right here, how far away each of our numbers is from the mean. Some of you have found out that you don't actually need the number line. You could just make a list of these numbers if that was easier. But I think the number line helps us to stay organized. So if you're still confused, you might want to use the number line. Our first number is 58. So we need to figure out how far 58 is from the mean. You have two choices. You could just count. So 58, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5 away from the mean. So at 58, I'm going to put 5.5 because it's 5.5 away from the mean. Your other choice is you could just subtract every number from the mean. And if you get a negative, just get rid of it because we don't care about negatives. That's what the absolute part is. It's actually finding the absolute value from the mean. So it's trying to figure out how far away from the mean it is without worrying about negatives. And if we subtract, we will still get 5.5. And you do that for each number. So I do it for 61 as well. So I can do 63.5 minus 61, and I get 2.5. And I can check that. 61 is 1, 2.5, so 2.5 away from the mean, from 63.5. But notice there were two X's. That means there were two boys who were 61 inches tall. So there were two boys that were 2.5 away from the mean. Now let's look at 62. If I do 63.5 minus 62, I will get 1.5, and we can check that. It's 1.5, so it is 1.5 away, and there is only one X there. So there is one boy who is 62 inches, so I just have 1.5. Now when you get to the other side, that's when we're going to have our first negative number, and I'm running out of space here. So I'm going to write it a little bit lower. So if I do 63.5 minus 64, I will get 0.5. I will actually get negative 0.5. But remember, we don't care about the negative numbers because we just want to know how far away it is. The negative just tells us kind of which direction it's in, so we don't worry about the negative. So my 64 is 1/2 away from the mean, so we get 0.5. Now you need to finish this question. So you still have 65, 66, and 67 to go. So do exactly what I just did with the numbers in front of the mean, the numbers that are lower than the mean, to find out how far away they are from 63.5. Then when you are finished, find the mean of those numbers. Remember, mean is the average. It's when you add them all up and divide by how many there are. If you are still getting mean, median, mode, and range confused, like I keep saying, you really need to take notes. Get a notebook, write down the definitions and how you find the mean, median, mode, and range. That way, anytime you see that, you can look it up so that you don't get confused. So after you have found those 5 numbers, add all of them up, including the ones that I just did, plus the ones you did. Divide by, there are still 10 numbers. You'll divide by 10 and that will be your final answer. Then go back and check your predictions. So you made predictions in part A and part B. See if your predictions about the average, we can find the average right now. Check your predictions about the average height and check your predictions about the variability. Which one was spread out more, the girls' values or the boys' values? Then you do not have part E, but you do have part D and part F. Try part D and part F and then turn in your CAMI document.